go big. Another pile driver, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or a road grader. They guarded Nebraska via Hawaii.
Yes.
He can pancake it. That was his
San Diego.
specialty. You're right. And he goes to a team that's going to take advantage of that strength. He did 32 reps, 6'4", 350 pounds, and he could maul you at the point. When he sustains, that's when he's got a chance to take it to the next level. I think pass protection is where he needs a ton of work. That's why when going to Marty, going to San Diego, they're going to run the ball with, obviously, LaDainian Tomlinson, try to break in Drew Brees. But I think when you look at the situation in San Diego, Mort, it's a right fit because his lack of pass protection experience won't come into play as much in San Diego.
No, and Jimmy can speak to this, too. They've got a great line coach in Hudson Houck, longtime Cowboys coach who's joined Marty and his staff. Larry Allen, big body type of guy. Fonoti, big body type of guy. And Hudson Houck will coach him up. And I think this is a great pick and a great fit here.
The real big thing about Hudson Houck, he loves big guys. And John Butler, he said he was going to draft somebody bigger than him.
And he did.
I think Andy will lean on the running game a little more this year. The passing game obviously is their foundation, but I think the running game will be a little more important, and I think it'll be Buckhalter that carries the load for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Corral Buckhalter will be the feature back in this offense. But as I look at what they tried to do in the offseason, the acquisition of Warwick Dunn still tells me they want to throw the football. That's their foundation. Now as we project down the road a little bit, Brian Westbrook, the little scat back out of Villanova, is a guy that I think they may take a look
Went
at.
the Steelers and Crouch here. Mike Martz wants to have a little fun.
Heisman Trophy to Crouch, wide receiver, St. Louis. That's look, you know, we changed Scott Frost, quarterback, Nebraska, to safety. We played a little bit with the Jets. The round didn't really work. Will this work, Bill?
Well, it depends. I mean, you talk about running back. He's 195 pounds, showed tremendous creativity, quick feet when he was running with the football as a quarterback. Certainly he's not going to be a quarterback in the NFL. That would have to be in the Canadian Football League. But does he want to move to wide receiver? Well, that's possible, but the hands and the route running, I think that's a long shot. I think running back, if he can develop his skills coming out of the backfield, catching the football, we know he has natural running instincts. He's only 195 pounds, but did run 4.43. Could move to safety, possibly, but I don't know if, with a guy who makes so many big plays on offense, I think that's the side of the ball he wants to start out on, see what happens, and then if that fails, move to the defensive secondary as a last resort. So I thought this was a little early. I thought for Eric Crouch a projection, maybe 5th round would be a best-case scenario, Jimmy. 3rd round, I think it's a little high.
Yeah, Mel, I had this conversation with Chris Feller earlier on. The #1 way he makes this football team is special teams. Obviously, he is not prepared to go out and play wide receiver. He's not prepared to play running back. Maybe he can be a utility player, maybe a nickel back as a running back, maybe a utility receiver, but he's not going to make the team on those positions. He's going to have to make the team on special teams. So if he doesn't produce on special teams, he'll end up being a developmental player.
And that's really, and I agree with you, it looks like a reach, but they don't feel like they had any big needs. So they might be saying, look, we'll bring him. He's a heck of a football player, help on special teams, and then maybe a year from now, he becomes something we can really use there. He does have speed, and obviously the Rams like speed.
So the Heisman Trophy winner, Eric Crouch, goes to
the Baltimore Ravens. As you look at the other 5 picks in the bottom of the screen, who has the better hair on the ESPN set poll? Jimmy Johnson over Mel Kiper.
At one point in time, you would have thought Keyou, Craver would be a late 1st-round pick, not a late 4th-round pick, Mike. And I think what hurts is Nebraska and the fact that Bruce Pickens, 3rd overall pick, disappointed in Atlanta. Michael Booker, another former 1st-rounder, struggled. See him here. That was against Andre Johnson in Miami. The kid has good ball skills. He's 5'10½". He's a solid 200 pounds. Only had a 31 vertical, so not an explosive athlete, but a kid who does have the ball skills, does have good open field tackling ability, decent hands for the interception, has some return skills. Talk about returning 21 punts this past year, averaged 11.7 yards per return. And I think that's a key early on. And remember, Tyrone Williams was a 3rd-round pick to Green Bay. He succeeded. Now you have Keyou, Craver in the 4th round. So I think the margin for error, the difference there is, sure, Nebraska corners, they struggle. Why? They're coming out of an offense where they run the option. They don't see the big-time receivers in man-coverage situations at the college level. Right. So the transition's not easy. But his punt return skills initially will help. Plus, the Saints are getting him in the 4th round, Mike, not the 1st or 2nd round.
Keyou Craver has played every game in his Nebraska career, so he certainly has.
How does he fit into this?
Well, the one thing we know that Mike Martz loves speed, and he takes Lamar Gordon in the 3rd round. Now he goes with Eric Crouch as well. So he loves the guys with speed. And I look at Eric Crouch, and I compare him. Now, this may sound strange to some people, but Troy Brown with the New England Patriots, the great wide receiver. But Merrill and I have broken down Troy Brown for a lot of years, and before they won the Super Bowl, he didn't get a whole lot of credit for his versatility. He is a versatile, as Merrill likes to say, wide receiver who they line up in the backfield, they line up in the slot, they They line up out wide. They use them in motion. And when I look at Eric Crouch, I see that same kind of receiver, a very versatile guy that you can line up anywhere to catch the football.
You cannot rule out him playing in the backfield either, because Marshall Faulk is an extension of the wide receivers. And the people I have talked to, Phil Crouch is better suited out of the backfield playing there. So I would expect him to be closer to the formation. They use a lot of H-back too, so maybe kind of a tight end guy for him.
Bottom line is all Eric Crouch wanted was a chance to play in the NFL, and now he's got it. Andrea Kramer following the draft from Houston, but she has more on Crouch. Andrea?
Well, Susie, you guys are exactly right. Now, when the Rams brought in Crouch prior to the draft, they only worked him out as a wide receiver. Mike Martz did tell me, though, that they want to use him everywhere. They have packages for him. They'll use him out of the backfield. But the interesting thing Martz said is that they wouldn't just package plays for him, that he has to fit into the entire offense. Now, I got a chance to visit with Eric Crouch in Lincoln, Nebraska. He was working out about 7 hours a day prior to the draft. He told me the toughest thing for him about making the transition from quarterback to any other position was the fact that he wasn't getting the snap every play, that he feels that he's best with the ball in his hands, and that would be a difficult thing for him to deal with. In talking to coaches and GMs around the league, the most important thing they said in dealing with a player like Crouch, making the transition to another position, is patience, especially in this day and age of free agency. The guy's learning a new position. You have to be patient with him. And when Crouch was at the Combine, he said about 30% of the team saw him as a quarterback, 30% at running back, 30% at wide receiver, and 10% as a defensive back. And Susie, to put it into perspective, Charlie Casserly told me that he thought that Crouch's best position was as a DB, and that Antoine Randall L, taken by the Steelers in the 2nd round, he would be best playing quarterback in the CFL.
Andrea, all these guys want is a chance, and at least we know at this point both of these guys have a shot, at least, in the NFL. Thanks. We roll on here with the 2002 draft. Will Kurt Warner be hooking up with Eric Crouch? Stick around. Crouch, of course, he won the Heisman at quarterback. He's listed on your chart as wide receiver. How do you plan to use him?
We're going to teach him to be a wide receiver on the outside first and foremost. There's so many qualities about Eric that helps in this transition for us that we really are excited about. He has extreme speed. He's a guy that's run a 10.3 electric 100-meter, which is outstanding. He's got height. He's intelligent. He's got character. He's dealt with all kinds of pressure. And he's got outstanding change of direction. So you got to think that he can make that change. The other thing now, he has been a wide receiver. He came to Nebraska as a wide receiver. In fact, I think he's got a couple touchdown receptions early on at Nebraska as a wide receiver. So we like this transition. We think he's a big, fast receiver. And by the way, we think that we'll get some real good out of Eric
John Stamper is going to give you a pretty good rotation defensive end with great effort.
And listen, I think I like
he could possibly move to guard and play there. And also Keyou Craver, a guy I know, Mel, that you liked, it was a little higher, but then dropped down some.
Not early, I liked him later. Right.
But yeah, exactly, from Nebraska. I think he may be a bit of an X factor as well.